Another Boston Bruins loss and another potentially devastating injury with just a few games remaining until the Stanley Cup playoffs, a spot in which the Bruins have yet to clinch. Good Friday episode of Locked On Boston Bruins coming at you right now.
Your Locked On Bruins, your daily podcast on the Boston Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Bruins fans, and welcome back to the Locked On Boston Bruins podcast. I'm your host, Ian McLaren, and this is a daily show where we discuss all things Spoke to Be, as well as take a look around the NHL. Today is Friday, April 15th, and I want to thank you so much for making Locked On Boston Bruins your first listen every day. The podcast is free and available wherever you get podcasts, as well as on YouTube, so please do smash that subscribe button. If you missed yesterday's episode with Jackie Redmond from the NHL Network, NHL on TNT, be sure to go back and catch that one. It was a great chat with her. You can follow the podcast at Locked NHL Bruins on Twitter and Instagram. You can find me, my dad jokes hockey tweets at Ian C. McLaren. Now, the Bruins last night had an opportunity to clinch a playoff spot with a win and an Islanders loss. The Islanders did their part, losing to the Pittsburgh Penguins, who did clinch. And the Bruins seemed on their way to that victory, going up 2-0 in the first period, thanks to goals by Mark McLovin, and Jesper Froden's first career goal. However, the game took a turn when Linus Ullmark did not come out to begin the second period. He stopped 8 shots in the first, including an amazing glove stop on Ottawa's Artem Zub. But he was unable to play after taking a shot to the helmet during the first period. He went to the bench, consulted with Bruins medical staff, returned to the net, but was not able to come back for the second period. Bruce Cassidy said he didn't believe Ullmark was removed by the concussion spotter, but he went to the trainers to let them know that he wasn't feeling right after taking that puck to the helmet. Cassidy said he didn't feel well after the first, so he left the game. No word immediately after the game as to the severity of his condition. He was not at practice this morning. Troy Grosnick up from Providence as Swayman's backup. The refs looked at him. He decided he wanted to continue to play. There was no reason to pull him at that exact moment from a concussion spotter point of view, but it was Ullmark himself who pulled himself from the game. Swayman relieved Ullmark and allowed 3 goals on 15 shots in the second period, and that was the difference. He did keep the Bruins in the game in the third period, denying Connor Brown on 2 different breakaways. He was put in a bad spot. The Bruins took some penalties in the second period. He found his game as the game went on. Did give the Bruins a chance to win after allowing those 3 goals. And they'll see here this morning whether it's a long-term thing for Linus Ullmark. It's unfortunate because Ullmark had certainly emerged as the Bruins' number 1 option in net and had been playing extremely well over the last several outings. Swayman has been struggling as of late, even in last night's game. With the bounce back in the third period, his save percentage was sub 900. So certainly a big source of concern for the Boston Bruins if Linus Ullmark is out of the lineup for any length of time. On a positive note, Brandon Carlo, he left Tuesday's game against St. Louis with an undisclosed ailment. Did not play last night, but he is feeling better, and he's a full participant here in practice on Friday, according to Matt Porter of the Boston Globe. So he could very well be available for Saturday's game against the Pittsburgh Penguins. So that's encouraging. David Pastrnak, Hampus Lindholm skated before practice here on Friday. Not expected to play on Saturday. And Marchand Bergeron, not at practice as well, likely for maintenance reasons. Matt Grzelcyk was able to skate in this game, and he did make an impact. We'll talk about that here more in a moment. But first, a quick word about Built Bar, the best tasting protein bar on the market. And their puffs are super delicious if you haven't tried those yet. They're the first ever protein-infused marshmallow. They're fluffy, marshmallowy, not just a protein bar. They're really a treat. They're covered in 100% chocolate, come in amazing flavors like cinnamony churro, coconut marshmallow, covered in 100% real chocolate. But they're low calorie, high protein, high fiber, low carbs, and low sugar. At Built Bar, they're all about the taste first. They make it delicious, then figure out how to make it healthy. I don't know how they pull it off, but they do it every time. Go to Build.com right now. Use promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off your order. That's promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Build.com. Thank you so much again for making Locked On Boston Bruins your first listen every day. Free and available on all podcast platforms, as well as on YouTube. So please do smash that subscribe button. Also check out the Locked On Now podcast, which is a daily recap of the previous night's action from our local experts. Now, there were some positives in this game. Bruce Cassidy said frustration is a useless emotion, so he's not frustrated. I know a lot of us watching last night's game were incredibly frustrated. Cassidy wants to correct things. There were some miscommunications on the bench, some too many men penalties that were taken, some lack of focus, especially on the power play, lack of finish, not shooting at the appropriate time. Certainly some guys they rely on a regular basis aren't putting up the numbers right now for whatever reason. Your Brad Marchands, even your Patrice Bergerons, Charlie Coyle, Craig Smith to a lesser degree, Jake DeBrusk. They did get 2 first-period goals from some not usual, I don't want to say unusual suspects, but guys you wouldn't expect. Mark McLaughlin deflected home a Nick Foligno feed at 6:36 on the first to give the Bruins a 1-0 lead. Jesper Froden scored his first career goal, a goal that I called on Twitter yesterday, I should add. Deflecting a Matt Grzelcyk point shot. Grzelcyk said, Froden's doing a great job. He's a really smart player. Mark is as well. They've both been working really hard. They're not the biggest guys, but they're both fast, smart hockey players. Something that he's noticed. It was his first game back after missing one with an upper body injury. Really impressive that both have been able to step right into the lineup at the end of the year, and they fit in. He's quite happy for them, as is the rest of the team. But what hurt the Bruins were penalties, specifically a 5-on-3 advantage that the Bruins gave them. The Bruins were already called for a penalty. Then Patrice Bergeron was called, I believe, for a face-off violation. And Tim Stützle put the Senators up 3-2, a lead that they would not relinquish. The Bruins just took some really, dumb penalties in this game that really did hurt them. And couple that with the fact that their power play is stumbling, that was a difference. Senators scored 2 goals on 6 power play opportunities. The Bruins failed to score on their 5. So there was a Mike Riley high sticking infraction, Patrice Bergeron hooking against Tim Stützle, and then Stützle scored the power play goal in the second period, and that was the difference. The Bruins did outshoot the Senators by a margin of 42-32. I believe it was their 8th loss in a game that they have fired more than 40 shots on goal. So, they could have won this one. They should have won this one. Penalty trouble, the Ullmark injury, those were all going against them. Got themselves into penalty trouble. Their goalie went out. Got a goalie going in who didn't expect to see the ice. Cold, put in a tough spot. And they got a lucky one. The first goal, I believe, went off Swayman's back and into the net. Then those 2 goals on the power play. And that was the difference. So going 4 for 6 on the penalty kill, 0-4 on the power play. That's something, obviously they missed David Pastrnak in that situation. But they'd really have to just simplify things. They're looking for the perfect shot. Instead of making the play that's in front of you, the best thing for them is to just get the puck on net. Froden, for his part, said he wants to play in the NHL. That's why he came over here, not to play in Providence, but to be a regular NHLer. He thinks he's done a good job, and always fun to get the call up and try to help the team win games. So that's pretty much the story from last night. Mark McLaughlin has now played 3 games at TD Garden. He scored in each game that he's played, and really making it difficult for the Bruins to remove him from the playoff lineup. So when it comes to Big Bear of the game last night, let's see. It's tough to pick. I'm going to pick Nick Foligno, actually. He had 6 shots on goal. He had the assist on Mark McLaughlin's tally. Really has been playing well as of late, giving the Bruins an extra boost. And hopefully he can continue to do that, stay healthy, and contribute when the games matter most. That's why they brought him in. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all betting stats and sports info. You can find all the latest developments, league reviews, and news, including the NBA playoffs, start of Major League Baseball, and the upcoming Stanley Cup playoffs. It's your continued source for all sports wagering information, from live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. Head to the website, use your mobile device, learn more about the trends in action at BetOnline, where the game starts. And if you're looking for tips to win your fantasy league, check out the Locked On Fantasy Hockey podcast, hosted by Steele Roden and Flip Livingstone. They will give you expert advice to win your league. Now, the Washington Capitals lost last night as well, keeping them in the second wild card position. The Bruins still have a 3-point advantage on them with 8 games remaining. They're slipping a bit in the Atlantic, 3 points back of the Lightning and 7 points back of the Maple Leafs. So it looks increasingly as though they will stay in a wild card spot and play either the Carolina Hurricanes, most likely, as the number 1 wild card team, or there's an off chance they'd play the Florida Panthers. But they would have to fall behind the Washington Capitals in order for that to happen. Coming up for the Bruins is a game at home tomorrow afternoon against the Pittsburgh Penguins. The Penguins clinched their playoff spot last night by beating the Islanders, their 16th straight year in the playoffs. The Bruins will then have 2 days off before heading to St. Louis for a game against the Blues, and then they'll travel to Pittsburgh for a game next Thursday against the Penguins. So three tough ones coming up on the schedule. Hopefully the Bruins can get healthy. Hopefully Ullmark is okay. But otherwise, it's going to be an uphill battle to clinch that playoff spot. There should be no danger of not clinching. They'd have to lose out, I think. Islanders would have to win out. Not likely to happen. But no Ullmark at practice. Carlo has returned to practice. No Marchand or Bergeron. They're taking maintenance days. Pastrnak, Lindholm skated earlier in the day. Probably not quite ready to return to game action. What else is going on here on the Locked On Boston Bruins podcast today? I hope you're all having a great holiday so far. Some sad news to pass along from the world of hockey. Mike Bossy passing away at age 65. The legendary Islanders goal scorer, a 4-time Stanley Cup champion. A big loss for the hockey community. The Lightning clinched the playoff spot last night, so it's just the Bruins and Capitals yet to clinch in the East. And that's pretty much it for today's episode. Gonna call it a day. Hope you're all doing well. Have a great weekend. I'm going to hopefully relax a bit today, watch Atlanta. Want to check out Outer Range on Amazon Prime. Looks like Yellowstone meets Yellow Jackets. And just trying to have some family time as well. So take care, friends. Talk to you again on Monday here on the Locked On Bruins podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your favorite team every single day.